Hello everyone, I am Drishti and I am back with the questions of CDS 2 2020 mathematics paper, and in this particular session we will discuss the questions from speed, distance and time. So there were total 4 questions from speed, distance and time. So let's get started. This is the question number 1, and here we can see that a train of length 110 meter is moving at a speed of 132 km per hour. The times required to cross a bridge of length 165 meter is, and the given options are 6.5 seconds, 7 seconds, 7.5 seconds or 8.5 seconds. Okay. So here firstly we are given with the train and the length of the train is 110 meters. Okay. After that it has to cross a bridge. Okay. And the length of that bridge is given to be 165 meter, right? And also one more important thing is given, that is the speed of the train. So speed of the train is 132 kilometers per hour, but the distance is given in the meters. So firstly we will convert this speed into meters per second. So our speed will be 132 into 5 by 18, right? So it will be 6 to 3s are 18, then 6 2s are 12, then 6 2s are 12. So it will be 110 by 3 meters per second. So okay, now we have got the speed, and what we are required to find out is the time. Okay, so firstly we will write the formula, and we know that time is equals to distance upon speed, and the total distance that the train has to cover will be equals to 110 meters plus 165 meters. So total distance will be 110 plus 165, and the speed of the train is 110 by 3. So it will be 110 here into 3 seconds, right? Now we can easily solve this one to get the final answer. So it will be equals to here 275 divided by 110 into 3, right? So here we know that 11 ones are 11, and here 11 twos are 22 and 11 fives are 25. Okay, then we know that 25 threes are 75 and divided by 10. So it will be 7.5 seconds. Hence answer for this question should be option C. Let's check. So yes, option C is correct only. Now coming upon to the next question, and it states that by increasing the speed of his car by 15 kilometers per hour, a person covers a distance of 300 kilometers by taking an hour less than before. Okay. So what was the original speed of the car? And the given options are 45 km per hour, 50 km per hour, 60 km per hour or 75 km per hour. Okay. So firstly we are required to find the original speed. So let original speed to be x kilometers per hour, right? Now the total distance that he has covered is 300 kilometers. So time taken, that is T1 will be equals to 300 by x, that is distance upon speed, right? Now it is given that the speed is increased by 15 kilometers. So new speed will be equals to x plus 15, and the time too, that is the new time will be equals to 300 upon speed, that is x plus 15. Okay. Now we are given that the time taken when the speed is increased is 1 hour less than the original time. So we are given that here the difference between these two time periods is given to be 1 hour. So here it is 300 by x minus 300 upon x plus 15 is equals to 1. Okay. So it will be equals to, by taking the LCMs, 300 will be common. Here it will be x plus 15 minus x is equals to x into x plus 15. Okay. Now this x cancels this x. So the quadratic equation will become x square plus 15x minus 300 into 15. So it will be equals to 4500 equals to 0, right? Now we have to solve this equation to get the final answer. So we can easily do the middle term splitting to find the solution of this equation, and here we can split 15x in the terms such that the addition or subtraction of those two terms should give 15 and the multiplication should give 4500. So we can divide it in two terms and it will be x square plus 75x minus 60x minus 4500 is equals to 0. So we have done the middle term splitting of 15x into 75x minus 60x. Hence answer for this question should be directly these numbers with opposite sign. So possible values of x will be minus 75 and 60. Also the speed can never be negative. Hence the value of x should be 60 kilometers per hour, that is given in option C. Hence option C should be the correct answer for this question. Let's check. So yes, option C is correct only. Now coming upon to the next question, and it states that x, y and z travel from the same place with uniform speeds 4 kilometers per hour, 5 kilometers per hour and 6 kilometers per hour respectively. Okay. And y starts 2 hours after x. How long after y must z start in order that they overtake x at the same instant? Okay. So we are given with three different people, x, y and z. Speed of x is 4 kilometers per hour, speed of y is 5 kilometers per hour and speed of z is 6 kilometers per hour. Okay. Now we are given that y starts 2 hours after x. Okay. So in 2 hours x will cover some distance. So distance covered by x in 2 hours will be equals to 4 into 2, as it is covering 4 kilometers in 1 hour. So in 2 hours it will cover 8 kilometers. Now we are given that after 2 hours as y starts. So here x should be at this position when y starts and the difference between them will be of 8 kilometers, right? Here. Now y have to cover this 8 kilometers in order to overtake x. Okay. So to overtake x, how much time will be taken by y? So time will be equals to distance upon speed, and the distance that is to be covered is 8 kilometers per hour. And here we have to take the relative speeds. So relative speed will be equals to speed of y minus speed of x, that is 5 minus 4 is equals to 8 hours. Okay. So time taken by y to overtake x will be 8 hours. Now in 8 hours, y, how much distance is covered by y? So distance covered by y will be 8 into the speed of y, which is 5. So it will be equals to 8 5s are 40 kilometers, right? Now we are required to find out the time, like how much before y should z start so that he overtakes x at the same instant as that of y, which means that z have also covered same distance as covered by z. Now we have to find the time period required for z to cover that same distance, so that we can easily subtract the time period taken by z from the time period taken by y to find after y when z should start. Okay. So the time period taken by z to cover 40 kilometers will be 40 upon the speed of z, which is 6 kilometers. So here 2 2s are 4 and in the denominator it will be 3. So the time period taken by z will be 20 by 3 hours. Okay. Now he should start after y to cover or to overtake x. Now time taken by y to overtake x was 8 hours. So 8 hours minus time taken by z is 20 by 3. Okay. So it will be equals to 4 by 3. So after 4 by 3 hours, Z should start so that he can overtake X at the same instant as that of Y. Hence, answer for this question should be option B. Let's check. So, yes, option B is correct only. Now, coming upon to the next question, and it states that a car did a journey in T hours. Had the average speed been X kilometers greater, the journey would have taken Y hours less. How long was the journey? Okay. Now, there are given 4 options. So, firstly, we will write the formula for the average speed. So, here we know that average speed is equals to total distance upon total time taken, right? Now, here distance is not specified, but it is constant because we are covering the same distance, right? As we are talking about one journey only. So, we can take this distance to be Z, okay? Now, it is given that had the average speed been X kilometers per hour greater, the journey would have taken Y hours less. So, if initially average speed we can take to be S and the total time we can take to be T, right? So, we have got our first equation which will be S is equals to Z upon T, okay? Now, it is given that if the speed would have been X kilometers greater, so speed will be S plus X, then the distance will remain same and the time would be Y hours less, right? So, here time would be T minus Y, okay? So, now we are required to find the total distance, that is how long was the journey, and which is denoted by X here, right? So, we can solve these two equations in order to find the value of X. So, we will put the value of S from first equation to the second equation. So, it will be equals to Z upon T plus X is equals to Z upon T minus Y, right? Now, we can solve for the value of Z here. So, it will be equals to X is equals to Z upon T minus Y minus Z upon T. So, we can take Z common from these two terms and it will be equals to X is equals to Z common. Here we can take the LCM. So, it will be T minus T plus Y upon T into T minus Y, right? So, this T cancels this T and here we have got the value of Z which will be equals to X into T minus Y upon Y, right? So, we can write it as X T into T minus Y into Y to the power minus 1. So, we can see that this exact statement is given in option B here, X into T minus Y into Y to the power minus 1. Hence, option B should be the correct answer for this question. Let's check. So, yes, option B is correct only. So, now I hope all the questions that we have discussed in this particular session are very much clear to you. Also, if you are preparing for upcoming CDS exam, don't forget to check our courses and download our learning app for the exam specific content along with the quizzes and the practice exercises. We have also provided you with a mock test for the wholesome preparation of your exam. And also for more such interesting sessions, stay tuned to SSB Crack Exams. Jai Hind. Hello everyone, welcome back to another session by SSB Crack Exams. I am Drishti and today we are discussing all the questions of CDS 2 2020 Mathematics paper. And in this particular session, we will discuss the questions of algebraic operations. So, there were total 8 questions from algebraic operations in this paper. And before moving on to the questions directly, let me tell you, if you are preparing for upcoming CDS exam, you can excel your preparation just by subscribing to our courses or by downloading our learning app. It will be very much helpful for you because there you will find the complete conceptual lectures along with the quizzes and PDF study materials. There you will also find the sample practice Q&As and previous year Q&As along with the practice exercises. So, this will be a huge knowledge bank for you and it will be very much helpful for you in your preparation and clearing the exam. Okay, now let's move on to the question. So this is the question number 1 and it states that x cube plus x square plus 16 is exactly divisible by x where x is a positive integer. The sum of all such positive values of x is, and the given options are 3, 4, 5 and 6. So first condition is given that x cube plus x square plus 16 should be divisible by x, right? So we know that for that it should be divisible by each of these terms separately, and we can directly see that x cube will be easily divisible by x. Similarly, x square will always be divisible by x. So last condition should be 16 should be divisible by x, and for that x should be a factor of 16. So we can write the factors of 16 which will be equals to 1, 16, then 2, 8 and 4. So there are total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 factors. Hence the only possible values of x can be only these 5 values. Hence answer for this question should be option C. Let's check. So yes, option C is correct only. Now moving upon to next question. So next question states that x to the power n minus a to the power n is divisible by x minus a where x is not equals to a for every natural number n, even natural number n only, odd natural number n only or prime number n only. Okay. So we are required to find that x to the power n minus a to the power n is always divisible by x minus a only if the value of n is a natural number, even number, odd number or prime number. Now if x to the power n minus a to the power n is divisible by x minus a, then it should be factor of this equation or this statement. So by factor theorem, or we can directly say that if x minus a is factor of fx, right, then x should equals to a should be a root of fx, right? So f of a will be equals to a to the power n minus a to the power n. By using this equation or this statement, now we can see that this cancels and it gives the 0 as the answer. So it means that x minus a will be factor of x to the power n minus a to the power n irrespective of the values of n. Okay. So it will be applicable for all the values of n. Hence answer for this question should be n can be any natural number. Okay. Let's check. So yes, option A is correct only. Now coming upon to next question. So next question states that the sum of all possible products taken two at a time out of the numbers these plus 1 minus 1 plus 2 minus 2 plus 3 minus 3 plus 4 minus 4 plus 5 minus 5 is, and the given options are 0, minus 30, minus 55 and 55. So if you have gone through the previous year questions, this is a repeated question. Okay. Now let me tell you how you should solve this question. So here we are given that plus 1 minus 1 plus 2 minus 2 plus 3 minus 3 plus 4 minus 4 plus 5 minus 5 are the given 10 numbers, right? And we are required to find the product, sum of the product of two numbers taken at a time. Okay. Now for that we need to use some algebraic expressions. So firstly we know that a plus b whole square is equals to a square plus b square plus 2ab, right? Similarly a plus b plus c whole square is equals to a square plus b square plus c square plus 2 into ab plus bc plus ca, right? So we can observe that every time by expanding this formula, we are getting 2 into the product of two numbers, and here we are getting the sum of product of numbers taken two at a time. So now we can easily expand this result up to 10 terms. Okay. So it will be equals to, we can take these 10 numbers as our ABC. Okay. So it will be 1 minus 1 plus 2 minus 2 plus 3 minus 3 plus 4 minus 4 plus 5 minus 5 whole square is equals to, there will be the square of each individual term, and we know that the square of 1 and minus 1 will be same, 2 and minus 2 will be same. Similarly, 3 and minus 3, 4 and minus 4, 5 and minus 5, their square will be same. So we can write 2 into 1 square plus 2 square plus 3 square plus 4 square plus 5 square plus 2 into sum of product taken 2 at a time, which we are required to find time, right? So we are required to find this thing only. Now we can easily do this. So here in the LHS we can see that this will become 0. Okay, so it will be 0 equals to 2 into 1 square plus 2 square plus 3 square plus 4 square plus 5 square. So this will directly be equals to 55. You can calculate it yourself. So it will be equals to 2 into 55 plus 2 into, we can let this whole thing to be x, which we are required to find. Okay. So now by transposing, we will get 2x is equals to minus 2 into 55. This 2 cancels both sides. So it will be x is equals to minus 55. Okay. So answer for this question should be option C. Let's check. So yes, option C is correct only. Now coming upon to the next question, and it states that if AB plus XY minus XB is equals to 0 and BC plus YZ minus CY equals to 0, then what is X by A plus C by Z equals to? And the given options are Y by B, B by Y, 1, 0. So here we can see that X and A are given in the first equation and C and Z are given in the second equation. So we can solve both the equations one by one to find the values of X by A and C by Z, and then by adding we can get the answer. Okay. So here first equation is AB plus XY plus minus XB, XB is equals to 0. So now we have to find the value of X by A. Okay. So here we will take X here. So it will be X common. Y minus B is equals to minus AB. So it will be X by A equals to minus B upon Y minus B. Similarly, we can solve equation 2 to find the value of C by Z. So here the equation is BC plus YZ minus CY is equals to 0. So we can take C common. So it will become C into B minus Y is equals to minus YZ. So C by Z will be equals to minus Y upon B minus Y. Right? Now we are required to add them. So we can add like X by A plus C by Z will be equals to this term plus this term. So we can write here minus B by Y minus B. Now we can take minus common from the denominator here, so that we can have the denominators for both the terms same, right? So it will become plus Y upon Y minus B, right? So now after adding it will become Y minus B upon Y minus B. So this will cancel out and it will be equals to 1. Hence answer for this question should be option C. Let's check. So yes, option C is correct only. Now coming upon to next question, and it states that if P plus 2 into 2Q minus 1 is equals to 2PQ minus 10 and P minus Q into 2Q minus 1 is equals to 2PQ minus 10, then what is the value of PQ equals to? And the given options are minus 10, minus 5, 5 and 10. Okay. So now we are given with two different equations and we are required to find the value of PQ. So we can simplify them one by one and then we can solve easily to find the value of P and Q. Okay. So first equation is P plus 2 into 2Q minus 1 is equals to 2PQ minus 10. So it will be equals to 2PQ minus P plus 4Q minus 2 is equals to 2PQ minus 10. So this 2PQ cancels this 2PQ and the equation will become minus P plus 4q is equals to minus 8. So this will be our first equation. Now similarly we can solve this second equation and it will become p minus 2 into 2q minus 1 is equals to 2pq minus 10. So we can again multiply and solve it out. So it will become 2pq minus p minus 4q plus 2 is equals to 2pq minus 10. So this 2pq cancels this 2pq and it will become minus p minus 4q is equals to minus 12. This is equation second. Okay. Now we can solve first and second equation in order to find the value of p and q separately. Okay. So here we can write this first equation and it will be minus p plus 4q is equals to minus 8. Now we can add both the equations. So this will cancel out. It will be minus 2p is equals to minus 20. This implies p is equals to 10. Okay. Now we can put this value in this first equation. So it will implies minus 10 plus 4q is equals to minus 8. So it will be equals to 4q is equals to 2 and q is equals to 1 by 2. Okay. So now p into q. So here p into q will be equals to 10 into 1 by 2. So it will be equals to 5, right? Hence option C should be the correct answer for this question. Let's check. So yes, option C is correct only. Now coming upon to the next question and it states that what is the value of a square plus ac upon a square c minus c cube minus a square minus c square upon a square c into 2ac square plus c cube minus 2c upon a square minus c square plus 3 upon a plus c, and the given options are 0, 1, ac upon a square plus c square or 6 upon a plus c. So here we have to simplify these terms in order to find the answer. So we can write this statement and it is a square plus ac upon, we can take c common here, so it will be c common and in the bracket we will have a square minus c square. So we can write a square minus c square as a plus c minus into a minus c. Okay. Similarly, we can write the second term. So here second term in the numerator we can open the identity. So it will become a minus c into a plus c upon, again we can take c common. So after taking c common it will become a square plus c square into 2ac. So which is the identity, and we can easily write it as a plus c whole square minus 2c upon, again we have the identity in the denominator. So it will be a minus c upon a plus c. Okay. Plus 3 upon a plus c plus 3 upon a plus c. Okay. So now we have got all the simplified terms. Now we can cancel this square with this term here. Okay. Now what we should do, we should make the denominators of each and every term as equal. Okay. So we can see that here should be 3 factors in the denominator in all the terms. So here we can find 2 factors. So here we have to multiply a minus c upon a minus c. Okay. Similarly, here we have to multiply c into c, and here we have to multiply c into a minus c upon c into a minus c. Okay. So now we can write them after combining. Okay. So in the denominator firstly we will get c into a plus c into a minus c, and in the denominator we will get a square plus ac minus, here we have got a minus c into a minus c. So it will be a identity of a minus b whole square, which is equals to a square plus b square minus 2ab. So we can open up this identity and it will be a square minus c square plus 2ac, as we have multiplied this minus sign inside. Okay. Then here we have got minus 2c square, and here we have to multiply this c inside. So it will be plus 3ac minus 3c square. Okay. Now we can simplify these terms. So here we can directly see that this a square cancels this a square. Okay. And nothing is cancelling after that. So we can write it after combining. So it will be equals to this AC plus 2AC plus 3AC. So it will be 6AC minus C square minus 2C square minus 3C square. So it will be minus 6C square. And in the denominator we have exact same term, which is C into A plus C into A minus C. Okay. In the numerator we can take 6C common. So it will be 6C, and in the bracket we have A minus C, right? And in the denominator we can cancel C with this C, this A minus C with this A minus C. So we will left with only two things, which will be 6 upon A plus C. Okay. And this exact term is given in option D. Hence option D should be the correct answer for this question. Let's check. So yes, option D is correct only. Coming upon to the next question, which is what is the square root of 4x to the power 4 plus 8x cube minus 4x plus 1? And these are the given options. Okay. So here we can see that the highest power of this polynomial is 4, and we have to find the square root of this polynomial. So for that we are sure that the square root of this polynomial will be a quadratic polynomial. So we can take it to be equals to a general quadratic polynomial. So it will be equals to the square of ax square plus bx plus c whole square. Now we can solve this right hand side by applying the algebraic equations, so that we can compare the coefficients and easily find the value of the missing terms a, b and c. Okay. So here we know that a plus b plus c whole square is equals to a square plus b square plus c square plus 2ab plus 2bc plus 2ca. So we can firstly solve this. So we can write the square of first term, which will be a square plus x square. Then square of second term, which will be here x to the power 4, which will be b square x square plus third term, which is c square. Okay. Then 2 into first term into second term, which will be this and this. So it will be abx cube. Okay. Then plus 2 into the multiplication of second and third term, which will be bcx, plus 2 into the multiplication of first and the third term, which will be acx square. Okay. Now we can easily compare the coefficient of both the equation on the left hand side and the right hand side. So here the coefficient of x to the power 4 is a square, and here it is 4. So we get a square is equals to 4, which implies a is equals to plus minus 2. But we can see in the options that a is 2 for all the cases. Okay. So we can directly take a is equals to 2. Okay. Now we will compare the coefficient of the next term, which is x cube. So here we know that x cube is equals to, the coefficient of x cube is equals to 2ab, and here it is 8. So we can directly write 2ab is equals to 8. This implies ab is equals to 4. So we can put this a is equals to 2 in this equation, and we will get b is equals to 2. Okay. Now we can compare the coefficient of the third term, which is x here. So the coefficient of x is minus 4, and here the coefficient of x is 2bc. So we get 2bc is equals to minus 4. This implies bc is equals to minus 2, and we have got the value of b already, which is 2. So this implies c is equals to minus 1. Now we can put the values of a, b and c in this general equation to find the answer. So it will be equals to 2x square plus 2x minus 1. So this will be our answer, and it is given in the option D. Hence option D should be the correct answer. Let's check. So yes, option D is correct. Now coming upon to the next question, and which states that 1 minus x to the power n plus x to the power n minus n plus 1, where n is a natural number, is divisible by. and the given options are 1 plus x square, 1 minus x square, 1 minus 2x minus x square, or 1 plus 2x minus x square. Okay, so firstly we will write this given statement, and it is 1 minus x to the power n plus x to the power n plus 1. Now we have to find the common factor so that we can find the exact answer from the option. So here we can take x to the power n common. So it will be 1 minus x. Then we take x to the power n common, right? So it will be minus x to the power n, and in the bracket we will get 1 minus x, because we know that x to the power n plus 1, if we take x to the power n common, then we will left with only x. Now we can take 1 minus x common, so it will be 1 minus x into 1 minus x to the power n, right? Now here we can write it as 1 to the power n minus x to the power n. Okay, and we know that for expressions like this, we have a factor which is 1 minus x always, and we have also studied this exact thing in one of the question in this particular session only. Hence we can write this term as 1 minus x into k, where k can be any of the factor. So it will be equals to 1 minus x into 1 minus x into k. So it will be equals to 1 minus x square into k. So we have got 1 minus x square as the factor. So this complete term should be divisible by 1 minus x square, and it is given in option B. Hence option B should be the correct answer for this question. Let's check. So yes, option B is correct only. So now I hope all the questions that I have discussed in this particular session are very much clear to you. Also, if you are preparing for upcoming CDS exam, don't forget to download our learning app from the Google Play Store. It will be very much helpful for you in your preparation, and also for more such interesting sessions, stay tuned to SSB Crack Exams. Jai Hind. Hello everyone, welcome to SSB Crack Exams. I am Drishti, and today we will be discussing all the questions of CDS 2 2020 Mathematics paper. And in this particular session, we will discuss the questions from square and square roots topic. And let me tell you, there were total 3 questions from this topic in the paper. So let's discuss them one by one. Here is the question number 1, and it states that if I is equals to a square plus b square plus c square, where a and b are consecutive integers and c is equals to ab, then I is, and the options are an even number and it is not a square of an integer, an odd number and it is not a square of an integer, square of an even integer, or square of an odd integer. Okay, so firstly we will check what all is given in the questions. So we are given that I is equals to a square plus b square plus c square, right? Also we are given that a and b are consecutive integers. So it means that if a is the first integer, then b will be equals to a plus 1, right? And also c is equals to ab. So we can put these conditions in our this first equation. Okay, so this will imply I will become a square plus 1 plus a square plus ab square, right? So now we can apply the identity of a plus b whole square here. So it will become a square plus a plus b whole square is equals to a square plus b square plus 2ab. So it will be a square plus 1 square is 1 plus 2ab, that is 2 into 1 into a, it will be 2a plus ab square, right? So now it will be a square plus a square will be 2a square plus 2a plus 1 plus ab square, right? So now you can take 2a common. So it will be 2a into a plus 1 plus 1 plus ab square, right? Now we can see that a plus 1 is equals to b itself. So it will be equals to, we can rearrange this equation and it will become a plus b whole square plus 2a into a plus 1, that is b plus 1. So by the same identity we can see that a square plus b square plus 2ab, So it will be equals to AB plus 1 whole square, right? Now we are given that A and B are consecutive integers. So which means that if A is odd, then B will be even, or if A is even, then B will be odd. Hence their multiplication will always be an even number, and an even number plus 1 will give you an odd number. So it will be equals to square of an odd number, right? So we can see that square of an odd number is given in option D. So the correct answer for this question should be option D. Let's check. So yes, option D is correct only. Now coming upon to question number 2. So in question number 2, we are given that 1 upon 1 plus root 2 plus 1 upon root 2 plus root 3 plus 1 upon root 3 plus root 4 plus up to 1 upon root 99 plus root 100 is equals to, and the given options are 1, 5, 9 or 10. Okay. So firstly we can write this given statement, or we can take one term of this given equation or the statement. So first term is 1 plus root 2. Now we can rationalize the denominator. So it will be equals to root 2 minus 1 upon root 2 minus 1. So it will be root 2 minus 1 in the numerator, and in the denominator there will be an identity which will be a plus b into a minus b, and it is equals to a square minus b square, which will be equals to root 2 square minus 1 square. So it will be equals to root 2 minus 1 upon 1, which is equals to root 2 minus 1 only. So this first term is equals to root 2 minus 1. Similarly, we can take the second term, which is 1 upon root 2 plus root 3. Now again we can do the rationalization. So it will be multiplied by root 3 minus root 2 upon root 3 minus root 2. So again in the denominator it will be a plus b into a minus b, and root 3 square minus root 2 square is 1 itself. So it will be equals to root 3 minus root 2. Okay. Similarly, here the third term, that is 1 over root 2 plus root 4 will be equals to root 4 minus root 3. Okay. So now we have decoded the given statement, and it will become root 2 minus 1 plus this will become root 3 minus root 2 plus this third term will become root 4 minus root 3 plus up to here this last term will become, if we rationalize, it will become root 100 minus root 99. Okay. Now we can see that this root 2 cancels this root 2. This root 3 cancels this root 3, and in the same manner root 4 and root 99 will also cancel out. And in the end we will be left with minus 1 plus root 100. Okay. And root 100 is equals to 10. We know that. So 10 minus 1 is equals to 9. Hence answer for this question should be 9. That is given in the option C. So option C should be the correct answer. Let's check. So yes, option C is correct only. Now coming upon to the next question. So in the next question we are given that if x to the power m is equals to root 14 into root 14x into root x into root x. So this is a complicated statement, and we are required to find the value of m here. Okay. And the given options are 1 by 8, 1 by 4, 3 by 4 or 7 by 4. Right. So firstly we can write this statement, and it is x to the power m is equals to root 14 x here multiplied by root x again root x. Right. So now what we can do, we can take power 14 on both the sides. So here we can take power 14 on both the sides, and it will become x to the power 14m is equals to, this will cancel out with this power 14. So here we will be left with x into root x into root x. Right. Now we can write their powers separately in the numericals. Okay. So it will be x to the power 14m is equals to x to the power 1. Now we know that root is written as half power. So it will be x into x to the power half whole power half. Okay. So it will become x to the power 1 into x to the power half into x to the power 1 by 4. Okay, so here we can get that 1 by 1 plus 1 by 2 plus 1 by 4. Here the x to the power 1 plus 1 by 2 plus 1 by 4. And here x to the power 14m, right? So now what we can write, we can add by taking the LCM. So it will be x to the power 14m is equals to x to the power 7 by 4. We can do the LCM and easily calculate this. Now what we can do, we can compare the powers of x on both the sides. So here we can write it here and it will be equals to 14m is equals to 7 by 4 and m will be equals to 7 by 4 into 14. So 7 ones are 7, 7 twos are 14. So it will be 1 by 8. So the value of m is 1 by 8 here, and which is given in option A. So option A should be the correct answer for this question. Let's check. So yes, option A is correct only. So now I hope all the questions that I have discussed in this particular session are very much clear to you. Also, if you are preparing for upcoming CDS exam, you can always subscribe to our courses by downloading our learning app from the Google Play Store. It will be very much helpful for you in your preparation and you will surely clear the exam. Also, for more such interesting sessions, stay tuned to SSB Crack Exams. Jai Hind.
Hello everyone, welcome to another session by SSB Crack Exams, wherein we are discussing the detailed solutions of questions part in CDS 2 2020 mathematics paper. I hope you have followed all the session based upon the geometry topic. This time I'll be explaining to you the answers of questions which were based upon typically triangles concept. So here we go with the very first question. In a triangle ABC where AC is equals to 12 centimeter, AB equals to 16 centimeter and AD being the bisector of the angle A, we have BD equal to 4 centimeter. And we have asked about the length of DC. So is it 2, is it 3, is it 4 or 5? To find it out, yes, of course, you have to draw the diagram and use the concepts of angle bisector. You must know the theorem of angle bisector. So let me recall that for you so that we can easily get the answer to our question, that is the length of DC. So we have a triangle here, ABC triangle, alright. So let's name it in particular order, ABC, alright. And we have the lengths provided, so let's mention those. AC we have this 12, we have AB 16 and we have AD to be the bisector. Okay, so AD is the bisector, means it's dividing the angle A into two equal halves. In this triangle, we know that AD is bisector. So we shall use the angle bisector theorem here to determine the length DC. So what is the angle bisector theorem? This theorem was all about and determined and proved with the help of the similarity concepts, right, in my lecture. So you can check out our serious mathematics course for all the detailed explanation for the same, the proof of the statement similar to this particular statement of angle bisector. So angle bisector theorem, we have that when you have an angle bisector for one of the angle in a triangle, then this ratio, that is AB ratio with AC, will be same as the ratio of the segments divided by the angle bisector ray into the opposite side, that is BD is to DC. So you just need to plug in the values provided to you. So what are they? We have the value AB which is 16, we have the value AC which is 12, we have the value BD, all the details we have. So we shall find the DC. So DC you can easily find out, it will come out to be what? It's very clear, it's a 3, right? So it's a 4, 4, 4, 3, so 4, 4 is cancelling. So DC you can easily see that it is the 3 centimeters. So the key for this particular question has to be option number B. Alright, coming upon to the next question on triangles. ABC is an equilateral triangle and the side BC is trisected at D. Very good question this was. And BC is given to be 3 times BD. So you first of all visualize an equilateral triangle while reading the question sidewise. Okay. So we have an equilateral triangle name in order ABC and we have the side BC which is trisected at D, means D is a point such that this portion, this BD length is, okay, it is the 1/3 part of BC. and this is also provided in the question, no worries. So what is the ratio of AD square to AB square? This question was based upon one of the result we have proved in the equilateral triangle. If you not proved also, that's fine, you can directly prove in your solving. So here we have to of course consider the one of the side bisectors. So we know that for equilateral triangle, side bisector, angle bisectors, altitudes all coincide. So this I have considered. So this is AE, and you also should know that this BE is same as this EC. So we can here now write it down that BE length will be how much? It is BC by 2. Okay, so what should be the DE length, the remaining part? It will be BE minus BD. So this will come out to be BC by 6. Check it out. So these all the details we have. Now we have to try to set up the equation relative to AD square and AB square to find its ratio from one of the 4 options. So right, so we will be of course connecting here this point D to A. Okay, so we have to consider this right triangle with the hypotenuse AD, and we have to consider the bigger right triangle that is with the hypotenuse AB. So we are only bother with these 2 right triangles so that we relate them, that is we relate AD square to AB square. So first of all, by Pythagoras theorem in the triangle ABE I will write. So you could know that Pythagoras theorem we can apply. So we have the hypotenuse AB square equal to what? It's a AE square plus BE square. So this I will say equation 1. And in the second statement, right, that is by Pythagoras theorem in the triangle, which one? The ADE triangle. There the hypotenuse is AD. So we'll have AD square equal to AE square plus what is that? DE square. So you could easily see that we can subtract these 2 equations 1 and 2 to relate this AB square with AD square. So let's do that. So 1 minus 2 I am doing. So in the left hand side I could have then AB square minus AD square, and in the right hand side you could see that this part, this AE square cancel, we'll get the difference for this BE square and this DE square, for which I know their values in terms of one of the side BC. So I'll write that. So AB square minus AD square equal to B. What was the value of B? B was BC by 2. So BC by 2 square. D we obtain to be BC by 6 square. So this is nothing but BC square by 4 minus BC square by 36. By LCM you solve it out, you get this as 8 BC square by 36, which we can rewrite as AB square minus AD square equal to, right, 2 by 9 AB square only. I would write AB square. To whom? This BC square, because it's an equilateral triangle, all sides are same, and I am bothered about AB and AD square ratio. So I replace this, what is that? This BC square by AB square. So that's done. So I could now see that this AD square equal to AB square minus 2 by 9 AB square, which comes out to be 7 by 9 AB square, and this is giving you the required answer. That is the ratio of AD square to AB square, which is clearly 7:9. So right key for this question hence is the option A. Alright, coming upon to the next question on triangle. In a triangle, values of all the angles are integers and they are also in the degree measure. So which one of the following cannot be the proportion of their measures? One of the easy question, this was on triangle. Simply based upon the angles and property of triangle. You noted that these ratios are of sides. Sorry, these ratios are of angles, and angles are the integers. So means, okay, so we take up their multiple to be x. Okay, these are the ratios, right? And we just go with the option to question approach. So simple, we can see that for the first one we get 6x equal to 180 degrees. So this x we gonna get the integer, so it is allowed, right? So right tick. So x is integer, it's allowed because we are getting the angle integer. For the second scenario, we are getting this 3 plus 4, 7 plus 5, 12x equal to 180. This will be also here integer, so right tick. Then this 5 plus 6, 11, 11 plus 7, 18x. 18x equal to 180. This also gonna give you x as integer only, so allowed. So of course Answer has to be then option D. But here you also check that you are getting this addition to be this 6 plus 7, that is 13 plus 8, 21x equal to 180. Here you could see that this x is not an integer, and this is only the not allowed, because all the angles were in integers, right? They are integers. So which proportion of measures cannot be for a triangle is the option D. So let's move on to the next question now on the triangle. And here we have a triangle ABC where 2 times of angle A is 3 times of angle B is 6 times of angle C. Then what is the angle A plus angle C? One of the easy question again, because for such question, you know, see, when 3 angles, their relation is given to be equal to each other, we equate it to K, some certain K, right? So here you could see that the angle A can be expressed as K by 2, angle B can be expressed as K by 3, and angle C can be expressed as K by 6. Very clear. And we know that these are the angles in a triangle. So we know the relation, the angle sum property of triangle, that sum of the angles in a triangle is 180 degrees. So with this we can easily find out K, and hence we can easily find out all the 3 measures, and we can go for the addition of angle A and C to get the one of the answer, right? Very easy question, isn't it? So here we could see that K by 2 plus K by 3 plus K by 6 is equals to 180. Take the LCM, LCM is 6. So we could see that what you get is K is equals to 180 degree. You can see, because the numerator addition comes out to be 6 ultimately, denominator cancels. So K equal to 180 means angle A is K by 2. So 180 by 2, what are you getting? 90, right? And then on the next line, I'll go for the further calculation. Angle B, what was the angle B? Angle B was K by 3. So 180 by 3, what are we getting? 60 degree. And angle C, what is angle C? 180 by 6, it's a 30 degree. So what we obtain? We obtain angle A to be 90, angle B to be 60, angle C to be 30, and they asked us the sum of angle A and angle C, which is now required to find as 90 plus the 30, which is equal to 120 degree, and hence the right key for this particular question is option B. Coming upon to the next question, the lengths of sides of right angled triangle are consecutive even integers. Understand, the lengths of sides of a right angle triangle. So we have a right angle triangle for which their lengths are the consecutive even integer. So you know how to take the consecutive even integer. If the first even integer is x, the next will be x plus 2, the next will be x plus 4, and so on. So here we have only 3 sides in a right angle triangle. So we take the, you know, hypotenuse is the largest side. So I'll take up, and this is a positive integer. Length of the side cannot be negative. So of course I have to take this form only. Can it be other way? No, right? So we have this right triangle with this sides details. So what they ask, what is the product of these integers? Means we have to find the product of these x, x plus 2, x plus 4. For that we require x, right? And to find out, we have the required condition that the triangle is right angle triangle. So if the triangle is right angle triangle, we know it satisfies the Pythagoras theorem. So we have hypotenuse square equal to sum of the squares of other 2 sides. So just solve it out, this equation. You can easily see the required equation to get the value of x. So it is x square plus 8x plus 16 equal to 2x square plus 4x plus 4. You can, you know, expand this, you will get this. So final simplified expression, the equation, required quadratic equation, you will get it as x square minus 4x minus 12 equal to 0, for which the splitting method yields you the factor x minus 6 and x plus 2, out of which is valid? X equal to 6, because x cannot be negative. So minus 2 is rejected. So we got x equal to 6 value. So x is 6 means what is x plus 2 side has to be? It has to be 8. What should be the x plus 4? It has to be 6 plus 4, that is 10. So we obtain all the 3 sides in provided right triangle. So what is the product of these integers? That is the integers 6, 8 and 10. Very easy. It is 480. So hence the right key for this particular question is option D. Alright, coming upon to the next question on triangle. ABC is a triangle right angled at C. Let P be any point on AC and Q be any point on BC. Alright, this is the provided condition. And we have to check which of the following statements is or are correct. Either the first one is correct or second one correct or both are correct or not. So see, we have a very general criteria in the question that triangle ABC is right angle triangle, all right, but the P and Q are any 2 points. So we have to first of all here visualize a right angle triangle where the right angle is at C. So this is C, means I have to give the name in this order, right? So this is we know. And what else we know is P is the point on AC and Q is the point on BC. So let's mark them. P is the point on AC here, any point it is, and Q is point on BC. So you could see that there, if we connect this PQ, we can connect this PB, we can connect this AQ. So we have the multiple right triangles now, right? Because all the connection we have done, the AQ connection, PQ connection, right? BP connection, all right. So we will just try to apply the Pythagoras theorem and try to conclude whether one of the statement is correct or not. So we have simply the right triangles. I'll be sharing for you. First of all, for PQ we require this shorter triangle. For PB then we require this triangle, and for AQ we require this bigger triangle, right? So let's write down all the 3 statements very easily. I hope you are very good at writing the Pythagoras statement. So we have for first one PQ square. We have for first one PQ square equal to PC square plus CQ square. For the second triangle with the PB hypotenuse, we have PB square equal to PC square plus BC square. And for the third statement, what do we have? AQ square as the hypotenuse, right? This is equal to, what are we getting? AC square plus CQ square. Not only that, we have the original right triangle with the hypotenuse, right? The hypotenuse AB. So let's write that also, so that we can play with these statements and come to the conclusion. So this is AB square equal to AC square plus, what do we have? AC square plus BC square. So now just observe this 4 statement closely, that how you can operate upon. You could see that, see, in the left hand side we have AQ and BP, right? So I would be doing the subtraction so that we'll get this cancellation of terms. So AQ and BP, we have those terms. So we can here, you can take the combination where this we have one of the terms getting cancelled. So we have the cancellation of, you know, this PC square from the 1 and 2, and then we have the cancellation of AC square from 3 and 4. So I would just simply say that I will do 1 minus 2 and I will do 3 minus 4 simply because I observe. So in the left hand side I will get for 1 minus 2 as PQ square minus PB square equal to, PC is getting cancelled. See, PC square, this will get cancelled, and we will get CQ square minus BC square, right? And for 3 minus 4 we are getting AQ square minus AB square equal to, AC square is getting cancelled, let's check there. So we are getting there CQ square minus BC square. So did you notice that we obtained the same right hand side? So this I will name as equation 5 and 6. So we know right hand sides of 5 and 6 are same. So from this 5 and 6 I can write left hand side same, that is PQ square minus PB square same as AQ square minus AB square. So this was all about observation, nothing to learn much. So you have to closely observe and just do the basic simplification for the Pythagoras statement. So here we could see that this PQ square plus AB square equals to AQ square plus PB square. So let us now check with our statement in the question that in the left hand side we have AQ square plus BP square that we got in one side, and other side we got AB square and PQ square, means we got this statement correct. So you could see we obtained the correct statement provided in the question, that AQ square plus PB square equals to AB square plus PQ square. So hence the statement 1 is correct. But what about the statement 2? Can you say this, that AB is equals to 2 times PQ? We can't say in general. We cannot say this because we have no relation of this P and Q with the AB, right? We did not get any such relation. We got a simple expression relating this AQ, BP, AB and PQ, and that is not implying any relation in AB and PQ. So of course we cannot say anything about the second statement, of course we have to consider it to be false only, because it cannot be true. See, if it is true, what will happen then? This AQ square plus BP square in the first statement, it will become 2 times PQ square, right? And that won't derive any situation for the triangle which is provided, might be in the question. In the question we have a right angle triangle where this PQ, right, we have for the right triangle, let me here show you, PQ square, we have this PC square plus CQ square. So if suppose this P and Q are midpoint, in case they will say, we would have come to some conclusion and we try to relate this AB with PQ. So far we cannot, and it's considered to be a general triangle with the general points P and Q. So yes, the right key for this question, we assume it to be the option A only. Alright, so only the first statement is correct. So option A is the right choice. Alright, let's come on to the next question based on the triangle now. In this question, we have AD, which is median of the triangle ABC. And if P is any point on AD, then which one of the following is correct? So we have to determine. So for that, let's first of all visualize the triangle and visualize median in that triangle. So we name this triangle in order ABC, and we have AD to be the median. So D is the point, the midpoint of the side BC. So you know that this triangle 1 and triangle 2 are equal in areas when you have a median in a triangle. So we know that area of the triangle ABD is same as area of the triangle ADC, and this is the fact because that the AD is median. Alright, so this fact we know, and what else we know in this question is that there is a point P on this median AD. So here you have to importantly understand that when you have any point on the median, so there you are getting as a shorter median PD. So if you try to connect this point, that is B with this P, and then C with this P, you could see that there is a triangle again. So there the triangle is now, what is that? PBC triangle, and there we have PD as the median of it. So we here understood that by connecting these points P with B and P with C, there is a triangle BPC, or you can say PBC, where PD is the median. So here we could see that this theorem is applicable for these two triangles also, these two triangles. That is, the area of the triangle BPD will be same as area of the triangle CPD. Now what can you say about the remaining portion? See, very clear statement. So we have got this areas are equal, right? And we have got the upper areas, that is the area of this the complete ABD equal to area of AD. So is it true that then the remaining portions are equal? Because those are the remaining parts. So here that is only the statement. So you could see that they asked us the area of the triangle PAB relation with the area of triangle PAC, right? So PAB is this triangle, right, and PAC is this triangle. So they asked that ratio. So are they like one is greater than other, one is like same equal to other, and this is only the correct statement? Because we could see that here, we could see that this area, this ABD triangle area equal to ADC triangle area is nothing but it is the sum of, what is that? It's a ABP plus BPD, right? And right hand side here for ADC, what do we have? Let me write that statement for you here, that for this ABD triangle we have this sum, that is for ABP, right? We have addition of this area with the area of BPD, and right hand side we have for ADC the addition of two areas, that is APC with the PDC, out of which we here noted that this BPD equal to CPD. So BPD equal to CPD, this cancels. So we could see that ABP area is same as APC, which is nothing but PAB area is same as PAC. So hence the right key for this question is the option B only. Alright, so this was simple question based on the the important theorem. So that fact given you the relation between the other two triangle form, where we got the smaller portion of the median in the particular triangle, out of which these were the triangles PAB and PAC is, right? So the option B is the right choice. Alright, now coming upon to the next question, and here we have sum of the squares of sides of a right angled triangle. Understand this question. We have a right angled triangle for which the sum of the three sides. So we consider the three sides to be of length ABC, out of which C is the hypotenuse we have to take because the triangle is right angled triangle at one point. And this sum of the squares is given to us. So we have A square plus B square plus C square equal to 8,450 square units. We have this. And we know apart from this one another equation. What is that? The hypotenuse C square equal to AB square plus BC square, and this is by which theorem? Pythagoras, PT, Pythagoras theorem, right? So we can easily substitute then this equation to value of C square into 1 to see that 2C square equal to 8450, which will give you C square equal to 4225, and you know that 4225 is the perfect square number. If you not, you can prime factorize it and check it out. So C is the square root of this 4225, whose square root will come out to be 65. You can easily check. Alright, and hence the key for this question is the option D only. Alright, so I hope you are clear upon the solutions of all the questions based upon the topic of triangles, part in Series 2 2020 mathematics paper. If you are an aspirant and aspiring to write the upcoming CDS written examination, do not forget to check out our CDS courses. For that, you can log on to our webpage learn.ssbcrackexams.com, or download the mobile app SSB Crack Exams from Google Play Store to subscribe to our CDS courses and start your preparation. Hello everyone, welcome back to SSB Crack Exams. I hope you are following each and every lecture wherein we are discussing for you the detailed solutions of each and every question part in CDS 2 2020 mathematics paper. This time I'll be explaining to you the answers of questions which were based upon the topic of quadrilaterals and polygons. So here we begin with the very first question that was part in CDS 2 2020 mathematics paper based upon the quadrilateral concepts. So we have a quadrilateral ABCD with one of the angle measure 90 degrees. Alright, and we know this relation that AB square plus BC square plus CD square minus AD square equal to 0 provided in the question. So we shall determine what is the measure of angle ACD then. Is it 30 degrees, 60 degrees, 90 degrees or 120 degrees? This question very easy. This is geometry question, basically will be based upon the criteria in the question only. You have to be attentive while reading the question and try to use all the provided condition in the question to come to the final answer to your question. So very easily, so just apply the givens provided in the quadrilateral ABCD. So we have a quadrilateral ABCD. Let's visualize that in general. So we have a quadrilateral and there we shall show one of the angle is of measure. What is that? It is of measure 90 degrees. So I'll try to take up this quadrilateral. Alright. So I'll take this. So this is ABCD quadrilateral, let us say. Alright. And we have angle B measure 90 degrees. So let's connect. AB square we have connected. BC square we have connected. CD square we have connected. AD square we have connected. So we could see here that we can connect this opposite vertices AC as well as the vertices B and D. So BD also we can do, but let's use the given statement. So what it is, it's AB square plus BC square plus CD square is equals to what? AD square. But you know that angle B is what? Right angled, right? Right measured angle. Angle B is what? The right angle. So you know that. So this triangle is right angle triangle where AC will be the hypotenuse. So what I can do here is that I can write this AB square plus BC square sum is equals to what? The AC square. So AC square plus CD square equal to what are you getting? You are getting this as AD square. So what this is implying to you? This is implying you to that the sum of squares of two sides in a triangle, that is AC and CD, these are two sides in particular triangle, their sum of squares is equal to AD square. So this is the statement of Pythagoras theorem. So whenever you have this situation in a triangle that sum of the squares of the sides in a triangle is equal to square of the third side, then yes, what it has to be? It has to be the right angle triangle. So what is the hypotenuse? Could you see the hypotenuse has to be this, right? So this has to be the hypotenuse as per the statement. So this has to be hypotenuse, means what is the opposite of this? It's a C. So angle C has to be what? The 90 degree. See, don't think that I drawn the figure, so C is not looking like 90. It was a random figure as per the question. So we got as per the geometrical condition provided in the question that the triangle, this triangle ACD is also, triangle ACD is what? Is also a right angled triangle. Getting my point? So angle C has to be 90 degrees so that the opposite side is the AD, which is hypotenuse. Its square equal to sum of the squares of remaining two sides. So this is how we made the use of the given, and we arrived at the answer key for this particular question, and it is option number C. Alright. Coming upon to the next question on quadrilateral. This was very easy question. See, based upon the concepts of polygons. If the sum of all interior angles of a regular polygon is twice the sum of its exterior angles. Okay, this is the provided condition that the sum of interior angles, I just write the notation for understanding, is equal to 2 times the sum. S stands for sum of the all exterior angles, where E stands for exterior. So this is the provided condition, and they asked us the name of the polygon. Is it hexagon? Is it octagon? Is it nonagon? Or is it decagon? The solution is very easy. Why? Because you already have clear-cut idea about the sum of the exterior angle. It is fixed for every polygon. It is equal to 360 degrees. So we could see here that sum of the interior angles is coming out to be 2 into 360 degree, which is nothing but 720. And we know one thing, that the sum of interior angle formula for regular polygon is what? It's a 180 into n minus 2. This is the formula that we know, that we can find out the sum of the angles in a polygon with the sides n, which is a regular polygon. So if now I try to get this 720, means what should be n? I have to know, right? So it's a very simple that I have to solve for 720 equal to 180 into n minus 2. So it's very clear that 720 upon this 180 has to be equal to n minus 2. What does this will imply to you? It's very easy, right? So we could see that this n comes out to be easily 6, because this 18 1, this 18 4. So n equal to 6. So n equal to 6 means there are 6 sides. 6-sided polygon is hexagon, and hence the answer has to be the option A, and it is. Alright. Coming upon to the next question. And this question, let me tell you, based upon the clear-cut study that we have done in our mathematics courses in the trapezium topic, wherein we discuss all the important theorems relative to the trapezium, wherein we made use of the similarity concept. So here let's understand the statements and try to come upon to the conclusion that which of the above is or are correct. So statement 1 is that the diagonals of trapezium divide each other proportionally. Is it true? Yes. Any line drawn parallel to the sides of trapezium divides the non-parallel sides proportionally. Yes, that is also true. And this proportionality has come from the concepts of similarity. Let me draw the diagram for you. I guess you learners can easily visualize that we have discussed the proof of the same in our lectures on trapezium in the quadrilateral chapters. So you can check out our serious mathematics course for all the details. Alright, so here we have this trapezium, and in trapezium we have, okay, and we have what? To consider the diagonal. So diagonal, that it's a segment connecting the opposite vertices, isn't it? So we have this. So we know that in this trapezium, this triangle AOD is similar to the triangle BOC. We know this. It's very clear by double A test, because this AD is parallel to BC. So we have the alternate angles equal. So we know very clearly here that the triangle AOD is similar to triangle COB. We know this. So when triangles are similar, we know that their sides will be in proportion. So their sides are AO upon CO equal to OD upon OB. So you could see that the proportionality has explained there, that AO is to OC ratio is same as this OD is to BO ratio, and that is only means that the diagonals of trapezium divide each other proportionally, because they are getting divided at the point O in proportion. So hence this is the very correct statement. That's what I said to you. But what about this second statement wherein you have to consider a trapezium again, visualize the trapezium again, and there you have to consider a line, that is joining the 2 points on non-parallel side. So this is a line. Okay, so we name this line to be PQ lines, and let's say our trapezium is ABCD only. Alright, so this is known to us. So what they are saying is that if there is any line drawn parallel to the parallel sides, because here we have drawn PQ parallel to the side AD, parallel to the side BC, right? So we have drawn this. So they are saying that this side, this segment PQ divides this non-parallel sides into proportion, and this is clearly true. Okay, this is clearly true that the proportionality will maintain, because this is the study based upon the parallel lines and their transversals, right? So we can easily here prove that this AP with PB ratio is same as, this DQ with QC ratio, which means that this non-parallel sides are divided in the proportion. Alright, so hence we are here confirmed to say that both the statements are correct. So key is option C for this particular question. Alright, coming upon to the next question in line for us based on again the polygons concept, and the easy question was part in CDS 2 2020. So the question is, what is the magnitude in the radian of the interior angle of a regular pentagon? Very easy question. What they ask? Magnitude of interior angle, not exterior. But we could find it. Exterior angle measure we know, because the pentagon is regular. So we know very well one of the formula that the measure of exterior angle is equal to 360 upon the sides. This M here stands for measure. Okay, don't get confused. And what is this N? It's a number of sides in polygon. So we know that measure of each exterior angle we find out by this formula. So it's a 360 by pentagon, right? Pentagon means divide by 5. So we have this 5 7s are 5 2s are to consider. So 72 degrees is the measure of exterior angle. You know the relation that the interior angle and the exterior angle are always linear pair. So interior angle measure will be then 180 minus exterior, isn't it? Very simple. So 180 minus 72. What it gives to you? It will give to you the answer in degrees. So that is how much? You could see it's 108. So 108, you have to convert this into the radian measure. For that you have to multiply it by pi by 180. So that you can easily see the ratio is 3:5 for these numbers, 108 and 180. So the answer will be 3 pi upon 5. So key has to be then option C. Alright, I hope solutions of all the questions, and I hope you found all the questions very easy. So geometry is one of the scoring topic part in elementary mathematics syllabus of CDS examination. So if you are an aspirant and aspiring to write the upcoming examination, so see that you are subscribing to our CDS mathematics course, so that you can prepare very well with all the basic concepts of geometry and score the full marks for each and every question. This time there were 14 questions. The CDS 2 2020 paper, mathematics paper consisted of this geometry. So prepare well if you are writing the upcoming CDS, subscribe to our courses and confidently crack your written exam with the flying colors. Hello everyone, welcome back to SSB Crack Exams. I hope you are following each and every session by SSB Crack Exams based on the the detailed explanation and solutions for each and every question of mathematics paper in CDS 2 2020 examination. This time I'll be explaining to you the questions and their answer keys for the topic of circle. So circles, that it's a topic under the main topic geometry, on which base altogether there were 14 questions in all, right? So we are in particular discussing here the questions on the topic circles. So here is the very first question, part of this CDS 2 2020 examination, and this question was totally based upon the cyclic quadrilateral property. If you have already studied the theorem and known to that theorem, you would have must appeared for this question very easily, saying that the answer has to be option C, because the scenario is such that there is a cyclic quadrilateral ABCD, alright, and there are the bisectors of all these A, B, C and D angles, and they mentioned that these bisectors cut the circle into 4 points. and they are respectively P, Q, R and S. Alright, so they asked us the sum of the measures of angle PQR with the measure of angle RSP. So you know that when you have a circle, moreover you have a cyclic quadrilateral, right? Not only that, for the vertices of cyclic quadrilateral, which is known here to be the quadrilateral ABCD, if you know that there is a, there are the bisectors of these angles, like the bisector of the angle A. Here they said us that bisector of angle A intersect the circle at P, bisector of angle B intersect the circle at point Q, bisector of angle C intersect the circle at point R, and bisector of the angle D intersect the circle at the point S. So you shall know that the property of cyclic quadrilateral, which says that the sum of the measures of opposite angles is 180 degrees. So you must know this, that angle A plus angle C is equals to 180. Not only that, you must know that when you have this scenario, when you have the angle bisectors of these opposite angles, right? So these angle bisectors, the points of intersections, that is the point P and the point R, which are the points respectively, right? Those are on the bisectors of the angles, which were the two opposite angles of cyclic quadrilateral. So if you connect those 2 points, you must know that this will give us the diameter of the circle. So this was the theorem. Okay, so this theorem you must aware about the cyclic quadrilateral, that this PR is a diameter. Alright, so when PR is a diameter, which is the line segment connected and formed by joining the two points on the circle, which were actually the points which were on the bisectors of the two opposite angles in cyclic quadrilateral, which follows this property. So now it's very easy to check for you that this triangle, which is that the triangle PQR, this triangle, right, which I am shading in yellow, it is in the semicircle because PR is a what? A right triangle, because so angle PQR has to be 90 degree. Similarly, S is also any point on the circle. S is any point on the circle. So if you connect this diameter endpoints with this point S also, what you get is the angle in the semicircle, which is also what? The same measure, that is the 90 degree. So we could see that hence the addition will goes to 180 degree, that is 90 plus 90. So this was only possible because of this property, that the diagonal will be the diameter of a circle will be what? A segment connecting the points which are the endpoints of the angle bisector intersecting the circle for a cyclic quadrilateral, which were the opposite vertices. Got my point? So here we are done with. So hence the key for this particular question is the option number C only. Alright, coming upon to the next question based on the circles, and here we have a circle which is inscribed in a triangle ABC. Alright, circle is inscribed in a triangle ABC. So let's visualize that in short to understand, because geometry is all about drawing a diagram and understanding the question. So you cannot easily understand the question unless you draw the diagram. And as soon as you draw the diagram sidewise, parallelly in your mind, the solution goes on and you can easily get the answer. So here we have a circle which is inscribed in this triangle. So obvious that the circle is touching the sides of triangle, right? And they given us, what they given is that the circle is, the touching the sides AB. So I will name this triangle in order ABC. So the circle is touching the side AB at M and AC at N. They given to us. And what is the O? O is the center of circle. Okay, this is known to us. And we know angle A also. What is the measure of this angle A? We know this measure, this is 70 degrees. And now they asked us the measure of angle MON. So most of you now easily understood that this problem is totally based upon the radius tangent property. You know that this OM and ON are radii, right? OM and ON are radii of the circle, and radius will, perpendicularly intersect the tangent, right? Radius is perpendicular to the tangent. So we know this angle AMO is same as the angle ANO, which is equal to 90 degree each. Right. So now we could see this quadrilateral. Can you visualize this quadrilateral in which we are only unknown with this required angle MON. So MON, how do you get? It's a total sum of the angles in quadrilateral minus the known angles. What do we know? 70 we know this 90 degree, so it's 180. Very clear. So we know clearly then the answer now 360 minus how much? This is 250. So what are we getting? It's 110. And hence the right key for this question is the option C only. Alright. I hope solutions of these two questions based on the topic of circles is clear to you, which were part in the CDS 2 2020 examination. Please stay tuned to SSB Crack exams. We will come up with more such sessions with the detailed answers and explanation for you for all the questions part in CDS 2 2020 mathematics paper. Hello everyone, welcome to SSB Crack exams. In this lecture, we are discussing the detailed solutions of all those questions which have come in the CDS 2 2020 mathematics paper based on the topic of statistics. There were in all 10 questions and all the questions were of easy level in the CDS 2 2020 paper. So let's discuss one by one the detailed solution of each question. So here is the very first question on statistics, and in this question, see, they have given us the 15 candidates who have appeared in an examination, alright, but they mentioned us the marks of the candidates who passed, okay, and these are the marks of only 10 students, means those other 5 students must be failed student, because here they clearly mentioned that the marks of past students, and those students who have failed, they are of course 5 in number, but what should be their marks? Can you guess? It will be, yes, lesser than the least mark mentioned by them for the 10 candidates who had passed, isn't it? So it is obvious that those marks, that is marks of those remaining 5 students, has to be below 4. Alright, so this was the data all about given to us and asked about what is the median of the marks of all the 15 candidates. So here is the twist. Given the marks of 10 students, asked median of the marks of 15 students. So here you have to just leave those 5 places blank initially, because you know when you have the ungrouped data to determine the median, you have to write the ascending order of the data values, isn't it? So here the initial 5 values are unknown to us, but we are sure about it that those are the values which are less than the score 4, which is the least score mentioned for past student, right? So this 5 I am leaving blank, and after that I am ascending the data. So those are like 4, 5, right? There we have then 6 twice, isn't it? And then we have 7 twice, right? And we have 8 twice, and then we have 9 twice, isn't it? So you can check out these data values are total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in number, isn't it? So now we want the median. So you know, for a median you have to check out the count, that is the observation number. How many observations are given? 15. So n is equals to 15, and this is odd in number. So for odd data, you know the median formula, right? What will be the median? Median will be n plus 1 by 2th observation. So means it will be 15 plus 1 by 2, that is 8th observation. So what is that observation in the given data values? You could see that these were already 5 observations, right? So already counted. So this is 6th, 7th and 8th. So hence you could see that the median of the data, that is 8th observation, is 6, and hence the answer to this particular question becomes option number A. Alright, next question on the statistic was again on the finding of median, and here we have the data which is about the yield in grams of barley from 7 plots. So they mentioned the total observations, 7 plots, okay, 7 is the count. So 7 is again odd number, right? So we have the count for the observations, and here they mentioned that this 7 plots of size 1 square yard each they are, and were found to be 180, 191, 175, 111, 154, 141 and 176, and then they asked us median yield. So this is again was the simple and easiest question on statistics in Series 2 2020 paper. Okay, so here you just need to assign the data. What is that data? The list value of the data is 111, right? So 111 in okay, they have mentioned as in grams. So 111. Then we have the next observation 141. Then we have 154. Then we have 175, 176. Then we have 180, and then we have the finally 191. So here you could see that these are total 7 observation, out of which we need to find the median. So median, you know the middle observation, and whenever there is odd data, you know the median formula, right? Median will be which observation? It will be n plus 1 by 2th observation, where the value of n is this 7, right? So 7 plus 1 by 2th observation, what is that? 4th observation. And what is the 4th observation? You could see it is 175. So median has to be then 175 grams, and hence the answer for this particular question is option number C. All right, coming upon to the next question on statistics, and this was about the basic question that you should aware about the central measures of tendency. In other words, we say them as measures of central tendency. So here they ask that which one of the following measures of central tendency will be used to determine the average size of shoe sold in the shop. So you know that the shoe sizes will be totally based upon the majority of people that they can wear and the size fit to them. So it's obvious that majority, it's all about relative to the mode. Mode, you know that mode of a data is the observation which is repeated for higher number of time, which is suitable for most of the person. So similarly, the shoe size has to be suitable for majority of the people, means we have to of course go with the central measure of tendency, which is none other than mode. So this was simple, the understanding based question, and hence the right key for this particular question was option D only. All right, coming upon to the next question on statistics in Series 2 2020 mathematics paper, and here they have given us that when you know the class intervals have equal width, all right, the height of a rectangle in histogram represents, irrespective of the width is equal or unequal. You know that class width can be made equal. You know always that the height of the rectangle indicates what? The frequency of that class. You know very well about this histogram, that here we plot the CIs, right? And here on the y-axis, we plot what the frequencies, right? So it's a very common and obvious, answer, that option D has to be the right choice. Okay, I hope all of you, the serious aspirants, have appeared for this question correctly only. All right, so option D is the right choice for this question, isn't it? Next question was on finding of the value x, which is relative to the concepts of the mean. So you could see here that we have a question where there are the ages of 7 family members known to us: 2, 5, 7, 12, 2, 5, 12, 18, 38, 40 and 60. So these are the ages of 7 family members. But they said after 5 years, one new member is added and that member age is X years. So what happened then when after 5 years one new member age is added? The mean, what was before, it is now goes up by 1.5 years. So mean has increased by 1.5 years. Got it? So they asked you what is the value of X then? So simple question on average. So it's a very easy as that. You have to first of all know the mean of the original data of 7 family members, and data is all about the ages that they given to us. Then after 5 years you have to again list down the mean, for which you will be taking the member with the age X years, and then you have to take the mean with the 1.5 years added to the old mean. So what I do is, first of all, let us write the old mean notation. So mean formula, it's a sum of observations upon total number. So here we have the observation 2 plus 5 plus 12 plus 18 plus 38 plus 40 plus 60. This is all divided by 7. This addition of the numerator data values comes out to be 175, and divide this 175 by 7, you're gonna get the 25. So this was the original mean mean age of the family members. They were 7 in number. So later what happened after 5 years? We are talking about now. So after 5 years, you could know that each age will be added by 5. So the new mean will come out, and the new mean value, they said that the original mean exceeded by 1.5 years. Okay, so means this value is 25 plus 1.5, that is 26.5 equal to, what will be the numerator? Can you understand? Numerator will be, see, we have to take up this 2 plus 5, 5 plus 5, 12 plus 5, like that values for these ages, because we are calculating after 5 years, right? So each age now I'll write. So it's 7 plus, then we have 10 plus, we have to take then 17 plus 18 plus 5 will be 23, plus then we have 43, right? Then we have 45 plus 65 to go with, right? And now these ages needs to add with the age x also, and this will be divided by how many people now? Total family members will be 8 in number. So you have to just now calculate the value of x here. That will be easily calculated here. In the left hand side, you could see that this number 26.5 will get multiplied by 8, and that will yield you 212, right? And the right hand side, the addition of these numbers, right, will be total 210. So that has to be, subtracted in the left hand side to get the value of x. So yes, you could see that the answer has to be then 2, right? So the value of the x will be option B, that's 2. All right, coming upon to the next question on statistics. Here, the mean weight of 100 students in a class is 46 kg. So we know already the mean weight of 100 students. So total students we know. Okay, let's write about the information that we have. 100, and students are, some are boys and others are girls. Okay, so the total students divided into boys and girls category, right? So they have given us the mean of the 100 students. You know the formula of mean, right? So what is mean? Mean is the sum of weights, right, divided by the number of observations. So number of observations are here nothing but the number of students, right? So they are total here 100 in number. So you could see that the sum of weights, which includes both boys and girls weight, so total, right? So here we are getting it to be 100 into the mean, because this mean is known to us. What is that? The mean weight of 100 students. So 46 kg. So it will be how much? It will be 4600 kgs. So this is the total weight, right, which includes the weight of boys and weight of girls. Now what's the next information? The mean weight of boys is 50 kg. So we don't know how many boys are. So boys, let us say B, and their mean they said 50 kg. So shall I write then that sum of weight for boys? Okay, for boys I am writing. So that will be what then? 50, the mean multiplied by boys. So similarly for girls, it will be what, right? For girls, see, girls will be how many? It will be 100 minus B. So the mean weight for girls, they gave us 40 kg. So it has to be 40 into 100 minus B. You need not write there G, because we know girls are the total minus the boys. So now we know. What do we know? That sum of these two, sum of weights of boys and sum of weights of girls, if you add together the total weight, you will get it. So here it's a simple equation to solve it out. That is 50B plus 40 into 100, that is 4000 minus 40B is equals to total we have 4600, sorry, 4600. So you could simply solve this, right? 50 minus 40, you're going to get 10B, and this 4000 will go to the right hand side, right? So here you could see that it's easy. So we gonna get B is equals to 60 for sure. So B, so how many boys? 60. So how many girls will be? Girls will be 40. Now what's the question? Question is the number of boys exceeds the number of girls by. It's a simple question. See, we got boys equal to 60 and we got girls equals to 40. So you could see that this boys number 60 is written as girls plus 20. So boys number exceeds the girls number by how much? 20. So yes, answer has to be the option C, because we obtained boys to be 60, girls to be 40, where boys can be written as girls plus 20. All right, coming upon to the next question, and here we have what is the algebraic sum of deviations from the mean of a set of values? So we have the set of values for which we have to find the deviations from the mean. So you shall first of all know the mean of the data, isn't it? Then you will find out the deviation. That too, not only that, you have to get the answer for the algebraic sum of deviations. So note the deviations, then sum it up, the final deviation you're gonna get. Simple question. So let's first of all find out the mean. Mean, how do you find? It's a simple. It's a sum divided by the number. How many observations they are? Let's count them down. So we have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 observations. Right? So there are total 10. And their addition you find out. Their sum you find out, you're going to get 450. So 450 divided by 10, what do you get? 45. So 45 is the mean of the given data values. Alright. So now what you have to do? You have to find the deviations of each observation from the mean. Right. So let me list it down, deviations for you. How do you find the deviation? It's simple subtraction, right? Subtract each observation from the mean, right? We have the observation. Let me erase off this for you. So here we could see that the difference of this observation 25 with this 45. What is the difference? It will be minus 20, isn't it? Then we have this 65 to 45 difference, that is plus 20. Then 73 to 45 difference will have, that is 28. Then 75 to 45 difference we have 30, right? Then 83 to 45 difference we have 38, right? And then we have 76 to 45 difference, that is 31, isn't it? And then 17. Now you could see that these all observations are smaller one, so it has to be negative then, right? So we have the observation now 17 minus 45, the difference gonna be minus 28. Then we have minus, right, minus 30 because 15 minus 45. Then we have minus 38 for the difference 7 and 45. Then we have minus 31. So what is this sum? You know, you can easily check out. The sum is resulting to be 0. So sum of the deviation we obtained to be 0, and hence the right key for this question is the option B. Very clear to you? Coming upon to the next question on statistics, and here we have provided the mean of 5 observations. Alright, the observations are x, x plus 2, x plus 4, x plus 6, x plus 8, and this mean of these observation is m, small m. And they asked us what is the mean of first 3 observations. Alright, so what is the given information? The mean of given observation. How many they are? They are simply, you could see these 2, these 3, 5 in number. So here we could see that the original mean, which is given to be m, it is for the data values x, x plus 2, x plus 4, right? Then we have x plus 6 and x plus 8. This 5 observations mean is m. So we could see that the numerator addition is, see, x plus x 5 times we have 5x plus this 2 plus 4, 6, 12, 12 plus 20. So we could see that we are getting here m, which is simply x plus 4. So this is the value of m. Alright, we have to find what? Mean of only first 3 observations. So what are they? The first 3 observations are these 3 only. So we shall find the mean of first 3. So this is the required mean, I'll say new mean, and this will be 3x plus 6 upon 3. So you could see that this will be x plus 2. But here we have the value x plus 4 as m, and you could see the answers are in terms of m. So we could easily write this as the value of x. What is the value of x here? It is m minus 4 here, right? So here we'll write then m minus 4 plus 2, that is clearly m minus 2, which is the new mean, that is nothing but the mean for first 3 observations. So what should be the key then? Right, option C. Alright, coming upon to the next question, which was simple and easy if you know the trick to appear for the cell. See, the question is to calculate the median. Median of the data, but what's a data? Observe closely. It's a, collection of even numbers. how many they are, that is also known to us. 2 to 100, how many even numbers are there? These are listed even numbers between the first, for the first 100 natural numbers. So there are 15 numbers, it's of course simple. And median is all about the middle observation of the data, isn't it? So you know that these are total 50 even numbers. See, I am giving you the short approach for this answer. We need not solve in detail for the same for finding the median of the data. All right, simple approach. So 50 even numbers are there, out of which we know these numbers are already arranged in ascending order. So we need to just write the median formula for even. For even there will be two medians. One is n by 2th observation and other is n by 2 plus 1th observation. So they are basically like the n by 2, n is 50, so it will be 25th observation and 26th observation. So it's a very easy 25th observation. How do you find it? It's a 25th, the even number. So it's a very easy. It's a number 50 and the 26th even number is 52. It's very easy, right? So its average will be the median. You know very well, right? So for data, when there is even data, there are two medians, namely this 1 and this 2. We have to take their average to get the actual median of the data. So the median is the average of these two medians. So what do you get? So this will be 102 by 2, that is equals to 51, and hence the answer for this particular question becomes option D. All right, and here the last question based on the statistics, and this was also the easiest question part of CDS 2 2020 based on the statistics. Simple. They given us the harmonic mean and the geometric mean. All right, so they given us H value and they given us the geometric mean G value. And what is they asked about? And what is they asked about? Arithmetic mean, that is A. So if you know very well the relation between this arithmetic, geometric and harmonic mean, that A into H is equals to G square, you are done. So in this question already we are known to harmonic mean and geometric mean. So let's substitute those values to determine the A value, right? So A into 10 is equals to 12 square, which we know that it's 144, right? So A is simply 144 divided by 10, which is nothing but 14.4. So this is how the easy question this was. If you know very well this relation, that is relation between harmonic, geometric and arithmetic mean. So hence the right key for this question is option D only. All right. So I hope you are clear upon all the solutions that were part in the CDS 2 2020 mathematics paper based on the statistics. So you have to stay tuned to SSB Crack exams. I'll meet you in my next session wherein I'll come up with the detailed solutions of questions part in mathematics paper of CDS 2 2020 examination based on the different topics. So stay tuned and stay motivated.